New book, I have to say, it's fascinating, it's brilliant, it's so detailed, called Murder at Lordship, is on my desk, and I've had it for a while and read it by Pat Marry and Robin Schiller. And one half of the team is with me today. I'm delighted to say hello to Pat Marry. He joins me in studio, retired detective inspector who led the investigation. Pat, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much, Sherry.
From that introduction there, obviously you can see that we are looking at and critiquing the book that has been released in relation to the murder at Lordship Credit Union. As you can see, we have rebranded the book, and as you've seen up on the screen, we've rebranded the book, How to Make Money from Your Murdered Friend and Colleague, because it is nothing more than an absolute farce and a total disgrace, this book. And Marry, along with Schiller, is doing the tour, peddling this book on a promotion tour, so to speak, around Ireland. But we will continue to break down and look at the inaccuracies, and we will get into the book in detail. But this podcast is vitally important because it's a local radio station, LMFM, which covers Cooley Peninsula, covers County Louth, obviously where the murder and robbery took place. And these people at LMFM should, if they're doing their journalistic duties in any proper manner, would know that Pat Marry has told them lies during the course of this interview. So we're going to have a look at some of the statements from Pat Marry, have a look at where he mentions his evidence. And I will say right here and now, I'm going to repeat this a lot in this video, Pat Marry is a liar, a complete and total liar. He's making information up. That simply does not exist. He is a liar. Pat Marry is a liar. So we're going to have a look at just two wee short clips. Again, they're only, I think, 2 minutes in total. But the magnitude of this man's disgusting and lost for words, his disrespect for his so-called friend and colleague is just, it's an endless pit. So we'll have a look at Marry here speaking, listening to Marry here speaking.
And one car in particular was Jimmy Flynn's car, which was a BMW, and he had a sheen on the top of the roof. It's sort of a design type of thing, to stick them on or whatever. But these people were so professional. They were able to pick his car out by looking at the streetlights reflection on the cars that passed, and there was a differing sheen on a light, and we stopped it and that, and they were able to determine by the make and model of that is the same make model of BMW that he had, and that's why now we went to look at that car, and we seized it. He had sold it on, and we seized it off a poor chap in Cavan that had bought it, and we had seized it, and we used it in the reconstruction of the cars that night, and we were able to determine, look, it's exactly the same, So we went to great lengths, like what I mean.
This was. I'm fascinated here listening to the way you work.
Yeah,
and the connections between different cases.
So in that clip, Pat Marry is explaining to us about some reconstructions and CCTV footage that was used to allegedly identify Jimmy Flynn's car in Clogherhead. And again, it's obviously worth reminding everyone that this was a blue Passat that was stolen in Clogherhead on Wednesday, the 23rd of January 2013. The car used at the murder and robbery by the eyewitness, Joe Ryan himself, and indeed Mary, the credit union worker, said the vehicle that was used in the murder and robbery was dark grey. So that's your starting point, and that shows what Marry and co were capable of doing. So first of all, obviously there was CCTV footage brought forward in respect of the roof of the car. We'll look at that now in the second after we look at the car actually getting into Clogherhead. So obviously there has to be a journey, And this journey started at the Ballymac service station, where it is clearly seen that James Flynn and his brother are getting fuel at the Ballymescanlon service station. And I'll just bring this up here. This covers the screen. So the journey from Ballymac up past Monaster Boyce into Termonfeckin into Clogherhead, there was obviously a number of journeys that were caught on CCTV. Now, vast majority of these are either silhouettes of cars or even just blobs of light, as we have shown, and we have created numerous videos in respect of all these journeys. We've done a live podcast actually driving some of these journeys, and they are so ridiculous and so ludicrous that Pat Marry should be ashamed of himself. Now, and again, going back to LMFM, if LMFM were a proper journalistic station and those proper journalists working for them, they will have seen, and they should be aware of the Justice for Aaron Brady campaign, and they will have seen that we put forward all these times, and these are the times that are obviously put forward, and they're in the DPP storyboard, and the times of blobs of light passing certain sites and the times between each of those sightings. So we've shown there the 19 minutes from Ballymac to Monaster Boyce, absolutely ridiculous. In the 5 Series BMW at 1:30 in the morning, 14 minutes would be the maximum. Then we have the journey we've focused in on quite a lot, the 6 minutes 20 seconds from Monaster Boyce to Termonfeckin Credit Union, 6 minutes 20 seconds. We say that is impossible, and we've shown that on numerous occasions. And I'm sure if LMFM were doing their job correctly, and I would suggest someone from LMFM has done that journey, and they know it is impossible. There's a number of other journeys. Journey 3, we drove that journey in 5 minutes. I think that's from Termonfeckin up into Clogherhead. And for some reason, the blobs of light, they tried to say 14 minutes. So what we're actually saying here is the lights passing a certain site at a particular time is not the same vehicle at point 2 in these storyboards. Slide number 4, absolutely ludicrous here from Annigasson into Castlebellingham. 32 minutes on this journey, when it actually only just takes over 2 minutes. More absolute nonsense. A kilometre from Annigasson, the Glade Inn in Annigasson to Bed and Breakfast just round the corner, 7 minutes. And again, the 9-minute journey from Clogherhead to Annigasson. Again, the DPP are saying this journey took 26 minutes, and it's actually only a 9-minute journey. So that gives you some idea of what Pat Marry's talking about here, this Jimmy Flynn's car. The physical act of getting James Flynn's car from the Ballymac service station into Clogherhead is simply impossible. It is a complete and total load of nonsense. So that's their starting point. And then Mr. Marry takes us into the realms of the light on the roof of the car. And again, there was massive weight put on this evidence. And again, a lot of the information we got very, very late on. So I'm just going to bring up on the screen here. You'll see 2 slides, slide C and slide A. Now, this is actually the same vehicle at the same time, as you can see from the date and the timestamp. Now, I'll explain this to you very quickly. On slide C, I'll just bring the arrow over. You see the little dot on the bonnet there? That is the way they suggested that the light moved across other vehicles and across the bonnet and the roof. Now, you can actually see when this is the same picture, and when it's tampered with, you can see it gives a different reflection. So that's number 1. I'd also like to draw your attention to slide A, where you see the footpath on the left-hand side. I'll just put a blue line down there, and you can see that there's actually a curvature on the footpath. So there's actually distortion. It's called the aspect ratio of the camera is distorted. Now, so again, we're focusing on now the roof. So you can see I have an arrow there on point A. This is the whole weight that this Acuity professionals, as Pat Marry called them, put on the street lights coming on the roof of the vehicle. So you can see it sort of spreads out rather than the definite spotlight that's sitting on the bonnet. So it's spreading out across the roof, yes, in comparison to that bright light that's sitting on the bonnet like a spotlight. Now, this is something we didn't have during the course of Aaron's trial. This is another vehicle. Slide A is the same as what we're after looking at. And then slide B is another vehicle. I'm not sure, I think I remember it's some sort of Vauxhall. It's coming through, and lo and behold, the light is dispersed all over the roof, and it is not spotlight like on the roof. So this assertion by Pat Marry that this is some form of a definite identification is absolutely madness. And that slide B there with the second vehicle coming at 4 a.m. in the morning, obviously nothing got to do with the car being stolen, was never shown to Aaron's defence team. Again, it wasn't shown properly. And I would like to say something we didn't know. We did not know until James Flynn and Brendan Trainor's trial, and until the very last minute. Pat Marry talked about this professional, Mr. Waller from Acuity in England. We did not realise, would you believe, that he never viewed all the vehicles that went under the lights on this date, on the 23rd of January 2013. As far as we can ascertain from Mr. Waller's testimony in this case, in James Flynn and Brendan Trainor's case, the only vehicle they actually showed him was this one. They didn't show Waller, the expert, all the other vehicles that had gone through from 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 1 a.m. and 2 a.m. that morning. That whole circle of time. And then the reconstruction was done under different light conditions. The reconstruction was done with different cameras and different settings. And unfortunately, because there was so much weight put in this, the prosecution were allowed to push it through, and it gathered gravitas. But the main thing is, it's physically impossible for James Flynn's BMW to have been in Clogherhead from a definite position, an anchor time, where he is seen quite clearly putting fuel in his car at Ballymac service station. The journey into Clogherhead is a complete and total piece of fiction. So that is the evidence that relied on. That is the evidence. What you've seen there on those couple of slides of the light on the roof is the main reason why James Flynn is incarcerated for the theft. Conspiracy to steal a vehicle, and obviously it carried great weight during the course of Aaron's trial. But again, it was not questioned correctly during the course of James Flynn's and Brendan Trainor's trial. But during the course of now Aaron's retrial, none of this will be missed, and there are some very, very serious issues for the prosecution. Garda Kenna, Mark Phillips, Lokenstein to answer in respect of a vehicle turning up in Dromiskin, but we will deal with that as we move forward. I just want to look at the nonsense Pat Marry is speaking here. So finally, we're going to have a little listen to Pat Marry, and this is where this man gets very dangerous, and this is where his mental state and his mental capacity for the truth is completely off the scale here, and we're into just wonderland here, making up stories. So let's have a little look, little listen to the final little clip in this video.
And then there was on the back of his car, on his number plate, he had a badge, and you could see in this particular car we were an interest in a little dark spot, like, you know, which was the badge, we believe. Like, so, like, it was like, you know, everything, you know. And then with the phone records, we could put phone records in play that he was up there that night, like, you know, around Clogherhead, like, you know. So there was no doubt that Jimmy Flynn, who was with Aaron Brady when he was stopped by John Maroney, was his car, and he was responsible for, in some way, taking that car that night that was used in the robbery, like, you know. So
this badge that Pat Marry is speaking about on the back of Jimmy Flynn's BMW was never mentioned during the trial. I have no idea what the man's talking about. The back of Jimmy Flynn's car was shown multiple times, and there was no discerning marks on the back of the car that was picked out in any other site. That is complete and total fiction. I have no idea what Pat Marry is speaking about there. It was never presented in court, and I can say, now they did speak in court about the M symbol on the back of the car, but that was not seen, picked out, or depicted or highlighted at any site on the Wednesday night or at any time during the course of the trial. Pat Marry is actually making that up. Then he actually says here that James Flynn's phone records are up in Clogherhead on that night. Pat Marry, you are a fucking liar. Absolutely, totally disgraceful. There is most certainly no phone evidence of James Flynn being ever anywhere near Clogherhead. You are a liar, Pat Marry. And the onus would be on LMFM to question this, because this is a very, very serious lie. It is completely made up. I don't know, Marry, whether you actually believe this or you have some brain freeze that you actually believe this happened. We've looked through all the phone records. No, definitely not. James Flynn was never anywhere near Clogherhead. You are a liar. And then we have an issue where they say Aaron Brady and James Flynn were together that night. Aaron, the phone records actually show that they weren't together. Now again, this is something that was slipped through during the course of James Flynn and Brendan Trainor's trial, obviously to the detriment of James Flynn. But it will not be missed the next time. James Flynn and Aaron Brady are not together. So therefore, Aaron Brady and James Flynn, well, we know James Flynn didn't travel towards Clogherhead anyway, because the evidence proves that. But again, you are telling lies. It's very simple, Pat Marry. You are a liar. And I will repeat once again, for the sake of everyone and all the families involved in this, this has to stop. This man must be stopped going round peddling these lies. It would have been in fucking headlines everywhere, in lights, if James Flynn or Aaron Brady's phones had to ping anyone near Clogherhead. But that never, ever happened. So that's only another little bit. I think in total, that's only another 2 minutes. And it is absolutely unbelievable what this man is attempting to do here. Pat Marry, you are a liar. You are mentally deranged if you believe what you're saying there. You are head of this investigation and you know you are telling lies. It is total disrespect to your so-called friend and colleague. And obviously it makes us extremely angry that you're allowed to have a voice on LMFM and indeed any other radio station or any other podcast. And these stations all have been asked to allow the Brady campaign to speak or put questions forward about what you've said. And I think at some stage, some station, some podcast out there, mainstream podcasts, are going to have to accept and question. And if Aaron's campaign is wrong, if we are telling any lies, we will be shown to be telling lies. But that will not be the case. Pat Marry, you are a liar.